Adonai Sfasai Sivtach, Ufi Yagiti Losecha, Lasas Nachas Ruchli Atrenu. So once again, it's Monday night, and this was not the plan that we had for Monday night. This week we were actually going to have an event doing a social media symposium, a panel discussion with a bunch of different seniors in high school about teenage social media use and the From community. Obviously, that's not happening tonight, given the circumstances of the past year, or sorry, the past year, but of the past week. I really felt it's important just to be together, to share together, to sing together, to laugh together, to cry together. And so, with that being said, I'm just going to share a few words and then I'll open it up. I've been sharing a lot over the past few days. None of it really helps, to be honest, but it's good to say words of Torah, words of Nechama. I think the part that I shared that's resonated most deeply with people, it's also been, it's been I think, most popular tweet on social media so far. I tweeted out earlier, I think today, yesterday, I'm not sure. The Kotzker Rebbe, Rav Menachem Mendel Morgenstern of Kotz, Chosiogin Alenu, there's a famous saying that he says, "Where is God? Wherever you let him in." And so in talking with a friend, Erev Shabbos, and I've said this a few times since, what does it mean, where is wherever you let him in? First, the Kotzker asks, where is God? When you allow yourself to feel, when you allow yourself to question, that's when you can let HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's when you can let Hashem, that's when you can let God into the pain, the suffering, the discomfort. And that's been a word that's really been sticking with me. And we'll talk further and we'll keep discussing further. I know it's a smaller crowd than we normally have, but that's probably one of the reasons. Just people want to be alone, people want to be closed off, but really it's a time like these where we need to come together and we need to be united and we need to share together, because keeping everything bottled up, which is, I guess, one of the lessons we can take away from the tragedy in Meron, keeping everything bottled up, keeping everything closed in, and that kills us. It's when we can allow ourselves to be expansive, to be open, to unite with each other in a way that's deep and meaningful. That's what brings us together, and that's what unites us. And I think we've been seeing that. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up. Shlomo, thank you so much for being here. I'll let you speak first, because I know you have always something that you should be sharing. So thank you for being here.
Funny that you say that, because the truth is, I don't really know what to say. I haven't found anything better for the body than silence. And just being with to be with another person in their pain, even just to be with another person when you're in pain, is a powerful device for healing. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm not always needing to say. There's a strong desire on social media, and in society today in general, even in person, in real life, to feel like there's a need to say. But if you look at the tzaddikim, if you look at righteous people, oftentimes they're in a posture of silence. They're just being, they're doing, they're learning, and I think that's a valuable device. Some of the loudest words are spoken silently. The Menachem Mendel of Vork, I think, or the Vork Rebbe, I forget which one. Maybe it was Yitzchok Friedman. He says that it's important to know, if you want to be a full Jew, you have to know how to bow down to Hashem even when you're standing up straight, how to fast even while you're eating a meal, and how to be silent even when you're speaking. So even tzaddikim, even when they're speaking, they're also silent, because they're not running on and on and on. There's a certain ability to an intentionality in their speech, in which they're filtering their speech to make sure what they're saying is effective, planting seeds. And if it won't plant seeds, it probably won't say it. So there's something there that, but we know that Zmiros are a powerful thing. The Imre Chaim of Vizhnitz said that when Cain sinned and he killed his brother, Lalino, that the Midrash says that, the Torah says that he was able to basically cut a deal with Hashem. He was able to do tshuva, he was able to grow and in some way compensate for the great loss in his relationship with Hashem. He was able to make strides in the right direction. And when Adam Rishon learned that there was such a thing as tshuva, he was so taken aback that he said, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. But Imre Chaim explains more than this, that what was the word used that Cain said, that Asisi tshuva v'nispasharti. He says, I did tshuva v'nispasharti, and I compromised. But v'nispasharti also means I did tshuva, but I was still cold. Like Maim Pshurim is cold, is like warm water. It's not in either direction. It's neutral. I was neutralized. I was still not warm. I didn't get back to the warmth that I had in my vitality, in my relationship with Hashem. The fire was still subdued. It was still a little bit cooled, cold water. And so he says that's why Adam Arishon, when he said Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos, it was really that he sang Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos. He sang Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos, and he brought his son into the song. And in that way, he warmed up the heart of his son and brought him out of the coldness of the sin. And Imre Chaim of Vizhnitz says that's what it means, that there's two types of tshuva. There's a tshuva where we're able to do tshuva, but the venom of a malek that makes a person cold-hearted after they sin can still be there, meaning the sin could technically be rectified, but their heart could still be cold because of a malek that came in. But he said, but the way to do tshuva and actually not just erase the effect of the sin, but actually return to the state before the sin, which was a state of vitality and warmth and effervescence, is by way of singing. So singing can take you past just rectifying the official mistake of the sin and the ramifications, but singing can take a person to a place of actually being warmed up again and being revitalized and getting back to the warmth of life. So on that note, there's just a classic song. I wasn't really sure what song to sing when Kyle invited me, but just a very classic song that is just about the desire to sing, which is really the desire to warm up the heart, is Anim Zmiros. And there's the famous Chabad Anim Zmiros that it never gets old, and it always warms up my heart. So I thought maybe we could sing it. Anim Zmiros V'shirim Eravavavai Ki Yelavavavachu Nafshi Sarai Oyanim Zmirai V'shirim Eravavavai Ki Yelavavavachu Nafshi Sarai Nafshi chamda tel yadecha ladas kol raseidecha. Nafshi chamda Tel yadecha ladas kol rasoidecha hayanim zmirai v'shir eravavavai ki nafshi savavavai nafshi chamda tel yadevecha ladas kol rasoidecha nafshi chamda tel yadecha ladas kol rasoidecha. And something I was thinking about right before I joined, as I was waiting in the waiting room for this, was they recently printed from the Kloisenberger Rebbe a sefer, a little sefer. He didn't officially write it because it's really just a collection. It's called Pu'ulas Tzadik L'chaim. The I guess the effect of a tzaddik is more life. So it's trying to bring more life through the life of the Kloisenberger after he passed posthumously, and pulling from here and there, basically little memoirs amidst different transcriptions of things he had said. This Chumash Rashi shir, that Chumash Rashi shir, this shir there, and this Sicha there, this Maimer there. And it has like very personal accounts of moments during the Holocaust where the Kloisenberger is just sharing reflections that he put on paper or that he shared in person. And I was trying to find it. Actually, it was a very short piece. I thought I had underlined it, but I couldn't find it. But the essence is that right after the war in the refugee camps, my wife's bubby was actually in the same refugee camp as she was born in the refugee camp that the Kloisenberger Rebbe was in. So it must have been, I guess, somewhere there. She should have a first Shlomo. She's having a lung problem, trouble breathing. But over there, the Kloisenberger, I guess right after the war, when they were redeemed, maybe when the sirens went off, right before the refugee camps or after they arrived at the refugee camps, everyone's beard was shaved, if they had a beard. Everyone's head was shaved. Everyone looked not like themselves, but in a certain way, everyone looked the same because the distinctions between a religious Jew and a non-religious Jew, between a Haredi Jew and a Litvish Jew, was indistinguishable. And he just wanted to go and hug every single Jewish male, just anyone he saw, he just wanted to give them a hug and just like celebrate the fact that they're alive and give chizuk to each other, chazak, and chazik. And he also says in another one, I think it was two separate accounts, that besides that desire, he also felt he imagined that it would never be possible to have sinas chinim ever again. After such devastation and what they had been through, he couldn't fathom that it could come, that sinas chinim, that venomous poison, could ever infiltrate the Jewish people again. And lo aleinu, it has. And he said, I can't believe that it actually came back. This sickness, this illness of sinas chinim, of baseless lack of respect for another Jew. And I don't really know what to say, how to make sense of anything that happened in Meron. It's really beyond, and I think that's okay. As I'm hearing from a lot of Gedolim and a lot of wonderful Mashpiim, that is okay. And even R Shlomo Katz had a beautiful interview with CNN in which the lady was trying to push for whose fault was it, how could they get together during COVID and Meron, and he kept just saying, there's a time for that. There's time for cheshbon. But first, we have to feel. First, it's the time for the heart. And people are in shiva right now. It's not a time to do cheshbonis and figure out whose fault. It's a time to bring comfort to each other, to bring comfort to every person in our nation is struggling, whether they know it, whether it's clear on their face or whether it's buried in their heart. There's no Jew who's comfortable right now. Everyone's uncomfortable. So the more comfort we can bring, the more hava we can bring. I can only imagine that's a beneficial thing in this time. More than that, I don't know what to say, but that's what I'll leave with. We should be blessed to make sure that the light we project in the world is a light of comfort. More than we've ever tried before, let's put in more effort just to make sure that if a Jew is a little bit uncomfortable, Baruch Hashem, we're alive, Baruch Hashem, we're well. If he looks a little different than you, if you don't understand why he's so adamant about his bodedus, or why he's so adamant about this or that, and in disagreement, it doesn't matter. If she sees uncomfortable, just help him. Just do something. Try to be comforting. If you see Jewish woman who's cranky, but you see she needs help, and you know she's probably going to yell at you because who cares? Just help. We don't need to be comforted in response to comfort another. Doesn't matter how different we are. Doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is to go beyond, to break the ice. But there's the comfort that every Jew needs before this happened, and especially now that this happened, is unparalleled. We're living in a generation with so much mental unhealthiness, probably because of social media and other things of the life. But I want to give everyone a bracha that we should be ambassadors of comfort. L'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you, R Shlomo, so much for joining. It's been a tough week for all of us, and again, I want to share this first because I heard this a while ago, and I shared this last Lag BaOmer, and this Lag BaOmer, I was sitting with it just in shambles, not knowing what to do. The Feldman brothers, two Ger Hasidim from Yerushalayim, when they came to Toronto collecting stock a few years ago already, one of them got up to speak by Shalashudas, and he shared the following vart. And it wasn't necessarily a Hasid, so he kept it short, sweet, and simple. But this vart has impacted me, and I shared it again last Lag BaOmer when we were together on Zoom. And he says, Hine matav u'manayim sheves achim gam yachad. That how good, how pleasant, how sweet is it for brothers and sisters to come together. That how good and how sweet, why does the pasuk say both? Why do we say both? Why does it seem like there's an extra word there? And so he said, ice cream may be sweet, it may be pleasant, but not good for you. Getting a shot of vaccine, that may be good for you, but certainly not pleasant. But he said, Hine mata u'manayim sheves achim gam yachad. It's only good, it's only pleasant when brothers and sisters get together. And I shared that last year, even when we were on Zoom, because it was so beautiful and so touching to see how we got together no matter what. And this year, when the report started coming out about Meron, I just kept saying over and over again, and I'm still saying it to myself. We don't know why it happened. We can't begin to know why it happened. But deep down inside, I truly believe it. That when we get together, for whatever the reason, but when we get together, whatever happens, and so we can't begin to understand, and we're trying to make sense of it. That's why we're here together. But at the end of the day, we recognize that brothers and sisters live together and they die together. And that's the most beautiful and correct and perfect and good in the world that there can be.
I would add kind of that Hine Ma is 45.
45.
Behold, when something of this horrible nature, 45 neshamos pass away, tragically pass on. That even just furthers the beautiful Dvar Torah you're saying. More than ever before, the value, it's like the value of togetherness is appreciated now. In business things go up and down in value, but at this point in the world, and after this Lag BaOmer, Hinei has appreciated the Tovim Anayim Sheves Achim Kam Yachad.
Absolutely. So, Yitzchok, if you're ready to share, then you can absolutely go ahead, and if not, then I'll keep I'll keep talking because well,
Uh,
Yitzchok, you
yeah, I'm here. Yeah. So, I went to camp with Donny. If I'm rambling on, I'm sorry. It's just very hard to talk about. So, there are a few memories that really, really stuck with me, and I still can't fully process. But on what Shlomo said, um, he very much embodied, no matter what kind of Jew you were. I mean, I came from Rockaway, for goodness sakes, which is more of a black hat. My first summer, I actually came in with a hat, and then I dropped that. And to him, it didn't matter. On the discussion of Nigunim, of all the Nigunim that we sang, his favorite song was Adon Olam, and specifically to Shalom Shak. Now, I'm not trying to turn this into Zionism at all, but the backstory behind Shalom Shak, which is now a Egyptian territory, unfortunately, it was captured in '67 war. It's part of Israel territory, and it was kind of like, Dixie of the South. And the reason why he loved that tune so much, he used to always tell us, was because it really embodied in his mind Jewish pride. And then you're yelling, Master of the Universe, Adon Olam Asher Malach, Biyado of Kid Ruchi in his hand. He was very much Sarchi Sibor for everybody and anybody. At the 2 summers that I was Gaba, I was always able to rely on him for the Yamud. And there was one week where he was actually only with us for 2 weeks this summer that the 3 boys were nifter, because if you were listening to the Liar, you went to his grandparents in our sister Al. Actually when they weren't nifter. So his last Shabbos, there was a bar mitzvah boy who was leaning in camp where the team and there were 2 different bar mitzvahs, so one boy leaned by us. Was going along. So after discussing the division head, we decided to cut up the Mashpia for Israel and Mashpia for the IDF. And this kid, 3 years my junior, starts yelling, "How could you cut out this Mashpia? How could you cut out this support, especially in this kind of time?" And he wouldn't let it down, and we ended up giving in. And he was just someone who constantly talked. He's someone who I could always lean upon as a friend. Someone I could lean upon. The embodiment. Second favorite nigga was actually Hini Mato from the Entebbe movie, which is actually very ironic that Kyle spoke about it. He did not like singing or davening. He was a Vasikan guy, but man, if we had a Kumzets, he would sing up a storm. We actually both used to be partners. The summer that I was not a Gavai, we used to be partners in crime, sneaking into the waiter minion. We still did it sometimes. There were times where we snuck into the waiter minion, and then I ran to the next minion, to the 9:15. Mind you, this is camp time, so it's 10:15. It's way, way, way too late. So you're completely missing Kriya Shema. Whatever. He was the only one who understood my let's just talk stupidity, or not so stupidity, of 10:15 being way too late to first start brachos and a davening. And we used to sneak into the waiter minion, whatever. I had my connection with great uncles at Sal, worked in Kaylee, my showing. I got us into the first minion, whatever it was. Someone who used Kabir Ka'ari. He rose up like a lion and he was ready to go. I'm like half awake, like, dude, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Which, by the way, it's 7 o'clock. But like, and he's like, dude, let's go. Yeah, it's Fazikin, out of bed. Just only wanted what was best from everyone. He wanted what was best from each and every one of us. And there was truly the picture that went around with Selfie and Meron, where he so proudly told us, I'm gonna be going to YU in 3 years. I'm a modern Orthodox superintendent, and I'm standing amongst these Hasidim. He was so excited to be around Jews that were not like him. I know that one of his role models was Josh Brody, who was a role model of mine also, on Kyle's.
actually met Robert Brody recently. We spoke a little bit. Starting to after this one. Yeah.
He's awesome. So Donnie very much adopted that slogan from him of love a Jew who's bedafka not like you. If you look for that Jew who's not like you, it's easier said than done, trust me. It's easier said than done, especially when you're trying to become more modern, more YU, and you were in a Haredi yeshiva, which was my situation. Was in a co-ed school, then I was in a Haredi school, and then I was in MTA. Go figure. So when you're in a situation where it's like, actually I went to Topher House for 9th grade, whatever. So it was like, I don't necessarily belong to Hashkafa at all. But I mean, I'm a Shomer Shomer, so that's about it. But when you had someone who grew up in the same world as my mom and the minor Orthodox grew up, and he was just like so excited to meet other people, meet people who were not like him. And I think one of the beautiful things of the Soul Rabbi, Eli Kenning, Rabbi Noam Kenningsberg, was that we're shooting a little bit today because let's just say we're working on a project. Look at your WhatsApps Wednesday or Thursday. We're not sure if it's happening or not, but if it is, look out for your WhatsApps and Kol HaTorah Kulah Wednesday or Thursday. There's a very big possibility. We don't know for sure yet. He doesn't know if he's up to it. There's a big possibility of a video from him, but he was like, he's got beer Kari. I was like, he's got beer Kari, and he's like, yes, that was Donnie. He's got beer Kari. He would literally rise up and he was out. He was like jumping. Nothing that was gonna stop him. Everyone who's here, I know was on when I spoke, so it's kind of repetitive, but it's a different topic tonight. And all 45. The most amazing thing was that you had that kid, that 13-year-old, Antolo Saharon, that was buried, literally fit in around the same plot, like one block away, one plot away, so to speak. Plot. The interesting things have plot B and plot C. I don't think. And they were literally right next to each other. Literally, someone from Total Saharon, because they probably would have disagreed with every little thing under the sun. Where was he buried? Right near a Shalavim kid. When who the first were back to back? A Shalavim kid and a Total Saharon Chassid. If only the world was so simple, I bet you Mashiach would be here already. Ani ma'amim b'Yem Shalema HaMashiach Ani ma'amim. We had Zusha, so we have plenty of Nikunim already. But I think it is very appropriate. So I don't think anyone is really, maybe Kyle. Those who went to NTSY Kola probably know the tune I was referencing. But it is really, really a beautiful Adon Olam. And through him, I really fell in love with it. I don't think there has been a Seudah Shlishi that went on since camp that I have not sung this Adon Olam. And last week was no exception. I'm probably not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to do the refrain. But it is very, 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 very beautiful. Adon Olam Nashir Malach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nifra. No, the term Kol Yitzir Nifra, Hashem reigned before everything was created. Something I didn't necessarily know, but that's something he knew. Lies Nasa B'Chef Soko Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam
Kyle, is that the one my brother recorded? Sounds like it.
What?
No, I'm talking to Kyle. That's one of my, yeah, that's my twin brother.
It is. This is Ashi Blues recording.
Really?
Yep, that's my twin brother. Yes.
Yeah, that was the Tim.
Yeah, I did this in camp also with a bunch of guys.
Nice
Yep.
piano going. Wow. Wow.
Maybe Rumberg one. Right, Kyle?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's Caribou. Never mind. Just when you're ready to shut that off, let me know because I'm not sure rushing. I just wanted to share something based on that. I don't know with Kyle on there, and if you wanted to hear also the
Yeah,
other
you can
people.
turn it off.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
rushing this. There's
definitely.
Kyle, okay if I share
Don't
something
worry,
from the
take your
Kutzker?
time.
Yeah, absolutely. Only the floor is yours.
There's
Go
a
for
mission
it. I'm not
from
gonna
from the
cut out,
Kutzker
but-
says based on Rashi should be humble for all people. So the Kutzker asked, why do we say Adolam after davening on Shabbos and during Shabbos? So we said the Kutzker says that we say Adolam because you have to realize that we haven't even begun to daven yet. We were standing from the Adon Olam, saying before Hashem Yisbarach. That's why we say Adolam. But the Kutzker says to be humble before Hashem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Ami. Keep going, Ami. Keep spreading.
That was the word basically from
Okay, beautiful. It's a beautiful word from the
from
Kutzker.
Moshe Tal's Wecker sefer called Mayana Shel Torah.
Have a good night, guys.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful, beautiful word. I'm gonna share
This
it.
is the sefer.
Mashpia of Thoughts, yeah, I saw that, and there's a beautiful word in there. Yeah, there's a few. I mean, the whole sefer is full of beautiful words. Masei Avos on Pirkei Avos, a collection in English from the masters on Pirkei Avos. Beautiful sefer.
There's a Hebrew one?
I don't believe so. I believe it's just distilled from all the different svarim in Hebrew.
Yeah, it's this one could bring Mashiach as you said before, because like you have Satmar and Chabad in here. Like what a sefer.
Absolutely, it's a
As Rav Yaakov would say, I was thinking in my mind, what a Kiddush Hashem.
absolutely. I'm gonna share a few more thoughts, and we'll keep going. And when people need to leave or want to leave, they can leave. And I think we may have another guest pop in depending on how late we go. And we'll see. We'll keep going. So I'm gonna share the first thought I had when I heard what actually was taking place, what transpired in Meron. Before I do that, I just want to thank Yitzchok for sharing what he shared. As Rabbi Ari Waxman, the Menahel, the Dean of the overseas program at Shalavim said, Donny was truly a malach. Like there's no other way to put it. Like you could have taken any from all the stories, Donny and the 44 others. You couldn't have chosen a better group. You really couldn't have. With that introduction, I'm going to share the first thoughts that I sent out Thursday night. Something that brought me a little bit of comfort. Felt need to share it then, and I feel the need to share it now.
They're trying to be glitchy for me.
Okay, so hopefully the recording and everyone else will be hearing a little bit clearer. Okay, so the first message I sent out Thursday night was the words daven, cry, beg for Mashiach. Enough of galus, enough tragedy to make us come together. We don't need it, we can unite without it. Earlier in the day, before the tragic events that happened in Meron, when the celebrations were just beginning, I was speaking with Rabbi Dr. Benji Epstein, and we were talking and learning. And we spoke about how the reason Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was worthy of revealing the sublime mysteries of the Torah wasn't merely because of his years in the cave, Moshav Tov Yeshavta, as we spoke about last year on Lag B'Omer. Rather, it was his stressing the primacy and need for friendship between the Chevraya. This is clear from the Piyut Bar Yochai that we sing on Lag B'Omer. Bar Yochai Nimshachto Ashrecha Shemen Sasan Mechaverecha. Why was Rashbi Zoche to the supernal wisdom alluded by the fact that he was anointed with joyous oil, i.e. wisdom? It's specifically Mechaverecha, from his friends. And I said, quoting something that I thought about earlier, a few weeks earlier, this secret is hinted to in the creation story itself. We know the pasuk in Bereshit teaches us, "Lo tov heyos ha'adam levado es lo ezer kenegdo." We need to be alone to realize we were never meant to be alone. That's why when Adam Harishon was created alone, it was immediately decided he could be alone no longer. It's in solitude that we learn the value of connection. And I said, B'schus Rashbi and B'schus our Ahavas Yisrael, B'schus connecting to Pnimius HaTorah and this holy Chavraya, we'll get past this and bring Mashiach. And I think that's what we're doing right here. We're sitting, we're sharing, we're connecting to Hashem, we're connecting to ourselves, we're connecting to each other, we're connecting to the lives of those we lost. And b'schus all that, we're one step closer to Mashiach. And so that's the first thing I want to share. If anyone else wants to share anything, if not, I'll just keep talking and we'll end shortly.
I did see something on the I saw on Twitter, but the Mashpia of 45 is Ma. There's no answers, no questions. Shlomo Katz said we didn't choose to open the gates like this. So it's open the gates to let everyone into the Sheva, as he said before, Matovu, like to bring everyone together. We didn't choose these gates. We have to, open these gates even wider to not just physical gates, but the gates of the heart.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rabbi Shlomo Katz said earlier, and he said it a few times now and shared it a few times now, we didn't choose to open the gates this way, but they're open. We have to do with it what we should be doing with it. And that's what Reb Shlomo Gaisin was saying earlier when he said, he named Ma Tov, that it's that 45, it's that power of Ma. And yeah, Ma. We don't know why these 45, we don't know why this had to happen. We don't know what's the meaning or what's the reason or what's the takeaway.
But we have no one to blame.
Right, or who to blame or what to blame. It happened. We just unite, and people are trying to blame each other, and there's a place for that, of course. And there's a place to get to the bottom and to accept responsibility. But that's not where we're coming. We're at a place of just feeling, of just being. It's this bechina of Shabbos, of just stop everything and just be, just let it out, just let it stay. And I think it was so poignant that the Levayos stopped and that they started again with Shabbos, that even with the tragedy, the Jewish people stopped. They said, we put it on the side and we just unite together. We don't think about it in this moment. And that's really the beauty of Yiddishkeit and the beauty of being an Eved Hashem is we're taught and we're brought up with how to feel, but also how to feel when it's okay to feel and to know that it's okay to feel. And so I think that's a really powerful thing. And I'm just going to share something that I was spoken about with Rabbi Dr. Benji Epstein.
I just had something to add by you were saying.
Absolutely, Ami.
It's from my idea of Dover Pinson. He brings on why I was basically just dreading Tisha B'Av, like on Shabbos, says because in order to find Hashem in Gullus, and I think it also connects with now with being able to connect to a person even when there's no sorrow going on and there's sorrow, to connect to Hashem, connect to other people, even when things are destroyed, to those gates of brokenness.
Absolutely. And I would just want to share, and I'll keep sharing unless anyone else interrupts me, because again, everyone needs to speak for a few reasons. I mean, the rebbis, the admorim of Slonim, teach He'emanti ki adaber. What does the pasuk in Tehillim mean? He'emanti ki adaber. I believe because I will speak. And they bring out the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov and really all the Hasidic masters, the Slonim Rebbes that say He'emanti ki adaber means that when I speak words of consolation, when I speak words of faith, when I say what's on my mind, that's what brings emunah, that's what brings faith. So that's one of the main reasons why we gather together and we try to share whatever we can. And the other is simply because we need to. And as I was talking with...
I saw that over Pesach. Oh, sorry. I saw this over Pesach in my Haggadah. It's the Zaldin bring that. And today, Sabalachovich taught this idea. Ravina brings this in last year's Torah Springs. He brings this idea.
Absolutely. The Saba Kadisha and really all the Rebbe Islam and really everyone with a beating heart believes this. And that's Rebbe Nachman's idea of Hispodadus. It's speaking brings me to this place of Emunah that you can write it, you can think it, but when you actually say the words over and over again, that's why I said earlier, that's why I was repeating, because when you say it over and over again, it becomes a part of you.
I saw this from a Hanukkah word from the Yeshiva of South Shore that says, the Lech of Sabbath says, when you have to believe, he said in Yiddish, I don't remember the exact question, but he says, when your emunah seems fake, it's like you have doubt in your emunah, you have to believe, like it's a spark of emunah that's still hidden within you. You have to believe in your emunah, even though it seems like your emunah is not fully,
Right, absolutely. That's the inyan in Slonim specifically, but really in all of Hasidus, and really in all of Yiddishkeit in general, is that even when I don't believe, I believe that I can believe, I believe that I should be believing. It's recognizing that we have that innate holiness within us.
Yeah, he brings a powerful muscle. It's like a sun. There's a dark cloud, but behind the cloud, there's still a sun, there's still a light. You have to believe behind that darkness, the cloud, there's still the sun, like the sun is alluding to Emunah.
Absolutely, and that's what a lot of people teach. On the pasuk, Tov lahodos laHashem u'zamer l'shimcha elyon lahagid ba'boker chastecha ve'emunascha b'leilos. That when it's light, when it's day, chastecha, I see it clearly, it's chesed, it's kindness. But when it's dark, when it's scary, when it's painful, when it's hard, that's emunascha b'leilos. That's when we need to strengthen, that's when we need to draw into our faith. And so I want to say with that, because we've been talking a lot about emunah, and there's a beautiful song that I shared yesterday when Rabbi Ephraim Waxman Shlita, he sang it a few years ago, and he sang it a bunch of times, and I've seen different people sing it, quote it. But he sings, I believe in Hashem, I trust in Hashem. There never is a moment when that I am alone, that I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem. And I understand that He's holding my hand, that every step is perfectly planned. He's holding me tight, so I'll be all right. I believe and I trust in Hashem. And we can say it over and over again. And there's a place to really feel God and to strengthen our emunah in this situation. And I'm going to read a little bit later a story, actually a writing from the mother of one of the victims of the Meron tragedy, where she talks about this. But I know we've been talking a lot about emunah, and I just want to share a message that I've been relaying as well, and that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated, and to still put on tefillin, and to still light Shabbos candles, and to still daven, and to learn Torah and accept responsibility. And we move forward, not moving onward from the tragedy, from what happened on Lag BaOmer, but we move forward, we continue in our growth. It's not a contradiction. People in this generation were lacking this. We need to learn to be upset, to be angry, to sit with the pain, and to still also be able to daven mincha. It's not a contradiction. We have to keep reminding ourselves that. If you're feeling down, if you feel like you want to vomit, if you're feeling like you have to cry because every time you think about it, there's no other appropriate response, that's good, that's healthy. We're a walking contradiction. We carry all the emotions from happiness and sadness, joy, depression. It's all a part of us, and we carry that with us. And Mori Rabbi Joey Rosenfeld is giving a Sev Shiurim on Rabbi Nachman and the possibility of finding joy, and the possibility of having joy, and the possibility of joy. And it seems that this world is so broken, but there is that possibility of joy, that possibility to be healed. And with that introduction and sort of that preface, I'm going to share something I shared earlier that I got earlier, which was written by Mrs. Sue Kotlai, the mother of Elazar Yitzchok Kotlai, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who was 13 years old, who was killed in the tragedy in Meron. And I'm going to read this, and I'm going to try to get through it without crying again. She writes, "In heaven, a great fire is roaring. Angels sway, and sages hold hands and dance. Omer Rebbe Kiva, Omer Rebbe Kiva. Where is the king of the night, the great sage, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai? He leaves the circle. He's shaking and shuddering. Whoosh! At the entrance to heaven, a clamor. Neshamos fly inside. A yeshiva bachar, a singer from Monsey, a chassan, 2 little brothers, a young father, another young father, a grandfather, a 14-year-old boy, and his 9-year-old brother. The fire sputters, the song dies. Reb Shimon rushes over and embraces the neshamos. They blink in the light. They look at one another, disoriented, confused, bewildered, but filled with an immeasurable light. Come with me, says Reb Shimon. Us? Reb Shimon answers, yes, you, Yerushalmi, Litvak, grandfather, Ger, Skverer, Mizrahi, Datilumi, Sfardi. They follow him, looking down, beyond the haze and the clouds, where a huge crowd is stranded on top of a bleeding mountain. Why us? Asked the 9-year-old. But they know, each one of them, they've accomplished their goals. They feel light, whole. They can see the completion of their individual missions. Slowly the fire comes to light again. They take hands again. The Chavetz Chaim, and the Berdichever, and Avram Avinu, and David HaMelech, and Avram and Daniel Amban, and Moshe Bergman, and Yonasan Chevroni, and Yedidia Chiyuis, and Eliyahu Cohen, and Yossi Cohen, and Simcha Bonim Diskind, and Chaim Doran, and Moshe Mordechai, and Yosef David Elchad Sharf, and Yeshua and Moshe Nathan Englander, and Mordechai Yoel Fecht, and Yedidia Asher Fogel, and Elazar Geffner, and Shragi Gestetner, and Donny Morris, and Eliezer Mordechai Goldberg, and Yosef Greenbaum, and Eliezer Tzvi Joseph, and Nachman Kirschenbaum, and Shmuel Tzvi Klagsveld, and Menachem Nablowitz, and Eliezer Yitzchok Kotlai, and David Kraus, and Shlomo Zalman Leibowitz, and Yosef Yehuda Levi, and Yishai Ulam, and Moshe Levi, and Yosef Masterov, and Shimon Matlon, and Chaim Rock, and Yehuda Leib Rubin, and Chaim Ozer Seller, and Moshe Ben Shalom, and Elkanah Shila, and Chanach Solod, and Dovi Steinmetz, and Yaakov Elchanan Starkovsky, and Yosef Amram Tauber, and Ariel Tzadik, and Moshe Tzarfati, and Menachem Asher Zekbach. All of them together. Light, unity, joy. Even as they dance, these newly arrived neshamos, even as they rise to the greatest heights, they see all the way down to those who don't understand, those who are pained, who stumble, who don't know why or what, those who still keep themselves distant from their brothers, those who stray. Omer Rebbe Kiva, the neshamos sing, and slowly a halting melody replaces the age-old song. A melody just 10 years old, composed by one among them. Chamol chamol al amecha, rachem rachem al nachlasecha, chisa nakrov rachamecha. We have goodness and gladness and light, but have mercy on your children down below. Chanenu vanenu. And shines up Mrs. Kulah, one of the strongest 45 women that there are in the Jewish people today, with the words, be the reason someone smiles today. And really, that story and the videos I've seen of those sitting Shiva currently, it's remarkable, it's unthinkable. But we, as a people, as individuals, we're strong and we're grounded, and we have a core and a foundation of unwavering belief and of unity and connectedness that transcends every seeming division that we may have. And so it's tough, and it hurts, and we don't know how to feel. And we try to give answers, but there are none. But the only thing we know, and the thing that we've been speaking about most tonight, is achdus, is unity, is coming together. Achdus below achidut, unity without uniformity. That we don't all have to be the same. We don't have to believe the same, or think the same, or talk the same, or daven the same, or learn the same. But we're one, we're united, we're together. And that's what I've been taking away from this all. Eini Yardamayim, the tears keep flowing. But we move on. Again, not moving onward from what happened, but move forward. Move forward in our growth. Move forward in our connectedness to ourselves, to the Jewish people, to Hashem, to the Torah. And so we move forward. And we need healing, and it's going to take a long time. But this right here, this gathering tonight, we've begun the process.
I don't know about your Newcomb song, but I think about Mika Amcha Yisrael. Do you know that?
Absolutely. I'm not going to sing it because I think I've well past my quota for singing today. But Mika Amcha Yisrael, that's really, that again never breaks.
Yeah.
Songs that have came out in the past year.
Kayach by based on the story of Reb Shaila.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking, we were talking about crying. I was thinking about from Rabbi Tzvi Rosenfeld in Sicha Sarah, and he quotes R Shlomo Katz's book. He talks about Sicha 41, the danger of sadness. He talks about the idea about at our core of crying, there is simcha, there is happiness inside. Like at the core of the all the mixed emotions, says at the core of crying, there is simcha. He says, talking about a leave nishbar, broken heart. He says at the core of crying, there is simcha, there's happiness, there's the ups and downs of crying and happiness.
Absolutely. And I was thinking about it today because on Motzei Shabbos, a bunch of the yeshiva programs
and the seminaries were today.
Right. A bunch of the yeshiva programs got together for visits at the Kotel. And today the seminaries had a program together at Michlala. And I was thinking about it because when I was in Israel on Yeshiva of South Shore in the summer of 2019, our Shia Rebbe, was Rabbi Mickey Elman, whose wife is the Ein Bayit of Michlala. And so we had our Lava Malka for our shiur on the Michlala campus on that basketball court when no one was there, obviously, and it was just our shiur. But we had our Lava Malka there. And when I saw the pictures, I was thinking about it because there we were 2 years ago, shooting some hoops, scarfing down pizza, talking about how we want to grow over the summer, singing a niggin or two, sharing some divrei Torah. And here tonight, the girls were crying their eyes out, singing, davening, sitting on the ground. And I thought about it for a moment and the juxtaposition of these two events. And I really concluded, and I came to the conclusion that at the end of the day, it's exactly the same inyan, it's the same concept, it's the same message. We were both trying to connect ourselves to each other, to ourselves, to Hashem, to the Jewish people, in two very different times, in two very different circumstances, in two very different ways. But that's the beauty of the Jewish people. At any moment, no matter what the circumstances, our reaction isn't any different. And just because it may be manifesting different, as Rabbi Yaakov Klein says in the first of the Lost Princess principles, I believe it's the first one, at our core, we are holy. At our core, that's it, that's all, that's who we are. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, especially seeing just how the Jewish people came together over the past few days. At our core, we are holy. At our core, we are united. That piece of God that's literally within each and every one of us, it's shining so clearly right now.
I think with that, the core holy, sometimes in the morning, you have to tell yourself that in the morning when you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, you're like,
absolutely.
Also, about Meron, I was thinking about like you're talking about how can you down, like, so I was thinking about this, how can we listen to Meron and Gunham after Meron? Such a like on one hand, I want to continue listening to the Gunham, but it's difficult.
Absolutely, it was hard to. I know that personally, our Shalosh, we ended again in Toronto. We're home, COVID. We're not going anywhere, doing nothing. Our home is really our Mikdash Me'at now. But at Shalosh with my brother and my sister, we ended off before we benched and before we ended off Shabbos with singing Bar Yochai. There were tears streaming down my face, for sure. But we sang Bar Yochai because that's why the Jews that were there.
Yeah.
And we don't understand, and we can't begin to.
One of my favorite times of the year. I remember Shana Aleph, I went with chutzpah, like one of my parents let me go, and my other parent let me go. I remember going, it was like people were saying to me, like, when you get back, crazy to go to a place like that. Just sit in the basement, I just learn. Why would you do something like that? And go dance. It's B'tel Torah. I said, it's not B'tel Torah. It's a part of Rosh Hashem. That's why rebbeim teach.
Absolutely, and we know Mikveh Yisrael Hashem, that being amongst our brothers and sisters at any time, and in times of joy, and also now in times of sorrow.
It reminds me of a story. There was like a certain, I remember saying this Vort in my Tzfat Shabbaton. There was a certain rabbi, he wanted to go to mikvah, but he couldn't get to mikvah, so he lowered himself in a place where Jews were. That was his mikvah.
Absolutely.
Rabbi Biederman brings that on parts of Vayakal in the maybe 2017 packet, I think, or 19, forget exactly. 1819, I think, was the exact year.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think I'm gonna wrap up tonight, and I just want to end with the following message. And it's something I said again earlier Thursday, Friday, and it's something I'll keep saying. And everyone who's watching the recording or who's on the Zoom now, feel free to reach out afterwards, but I'm going to end with this. And that's to be a human, and particularly to be a Jew, is to live on the roller coaster of emotions. It's to be able to withstand the waves that come crashing in trying to knock us down and keep us under the water until we drown. So tonight, like on Lag BaOmer, like on every day of our lives, we go from celebration to mourning and from mourning to celebration and back and forth in the same breath. It teaches us to be real, to be human, and to be a Jew. So thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to my reflections, to listen to the reflections of those that learned together with me and that I learned from. And God willing, we should never know anything like this again, and we should only see revealed good now and until Mashiach, it should come speedily in our days. B'mehera v'yameinu, amen.